She thought I was asleep. That's the only reason she left her phone on the charger in the kitchen, screen unlocked, messages open. It buzzed once. A preview flashed up. Still thinking about last night. You taste like spring. It wasn't for me. Not even close. I stared at it, heart rate steady, not from calm, but from something deeper. Something darker. I didn't rage. I didn't yell. I just stared. Memorized the contact name, Evie, then picked up her phone and walked out into the garage. Cold air. Oil smell. Silence. And the sick feeling in my gut that everything I'd built for 30 years was about to turn to ash. Flashback: the drift before the storm. We were married just over 30 years. I was 65, Marina 63. We'd made it through raising 2 kids, losing parents, job layoffs, and health scares. We weren't rich, but we had comfort, a paid-off home in Pine Ridge, our daily walks, Sunday breakfast at home. People thought we were solid. Rock steady. But cracks had been forming. I just didn't want to see them. Marina had started volunteering more, community work, late events, local boards. I was proud of her at first. She had purpose again. But then it became something else. Always another meeting. Always texting. Always distant. I asked a few times, lightly. She'd smile, "You know how it is, they need all the help they can get." I told myself to trust her. What a fool. Back in the garage, the proof. I opened her phone. No passcode. She never thought she'd need one. Messages ran deep. Some new, some weeks old. All of them to V. Victor. A name I recognized, one of the men from her volunteer committee. Divorced. Smug. Always complimented her outfits when I was around. I remember now, too many smiles that weren't meant for me. Their messages made it clear. They'd met up. More than once. Not just dinner or coffee. There were hints, his hand on her thigh, her staying just a little longer, the scent of her hair, his favorite spot. Photos too. Marina smiling in a dim motel room mirror. Him behind her, shirtless, just out of frame. Suggestive. Just enough to gut me without being fully explicit. She gave herself to him. Not just her body, her softness, her time, her secrets. And then she came home and kissed me on the cheek. I went back inside. Phone still in hand. She stood in the hallway, confused. "Why are you holding my phone?" I looked her in the eye and said, flatly, "Who's Victor?" She froze. Color drained from her face. And for the first time in my life, I saw fear in my wife's eyes. That's when I knew I hadn't lost her recently. I'd lost her a long time ago. I just didn't see it. Marina didn't answer right away. Just stood there, lips slightly parted, like she'd forgotten how to speak. I repeated it. Slower this time. "Who is Victor?" Her mouth moved, but the sound barely came. "Eli. I can explain." That phrase, it lit something in me. I wasn't angry. Not yet. Just awake. Sharper than I'd felt in years. I handed her the phone. Let her scroll. Watched her pupils shift as she tried to gauge what I'd seen. I said nothing. Just stood there like stone. Finally, she whispered, "It wasn't supposed to happen like this." The next few hours were a blur of half-truths, stammered excuses, and watery eyes. He was just someone I talked to after board meetings. It started with texting. I didn't think it meant anything. He made me feel seen, and I was lonely, Eli. I didn't raise my voice. I asked the kind of questions that didn't need answers. When did it start? How many times? Did you ever plan on telling me? Every answer made it worse. The affair had been going on for over a year. It started with small things, long drives to clear her head, a wine tasting she forgot to mention, a business trip she offered to help plan for Victor, even though she wasn't going. From emotional to physical, it took about 6 months, she admitted. He listened, she said. He made me laugh again. I didn't flinch. You could have asked for a divorce, Marina. I never stopped loving you, she whispered. I nodded. That's not love. That's cowardice with good lighting. Looking back, the missed warnings. The signs had been there. She started dressing differently before meetings. Brighter lipstick. A spritz of perfume she hadn't used since our early years. I remember catching her smiling at her phone once, not a casual smile. The kind of smile I hadn't seen her wear for me in years. I chalked it up to aging. Stress. Maybe menopause making her moody, more distant. Maybe I was working too much. Maybe I had missed something. But now I knew. The truth was, she'd emotionally checked out before I ever noticed. Victor wasn't the cause. He was just the invitation. Kids and silence. I didn't tell our kids. Not yet. Our daughter was planning a move out west. Our son had just started his own business. I didn't want to drop a bomb on them, not while I was still figuring out whether this was just betrayal, or the death of the marriage. I spent 3 nights in the guest room. Marina knocked once the second night. No words. Just stood there with her hand on the doorframe, eyes red. I didn't move. Didn't ask her in. She left quietly. On the 4th morning, I packed a bag and told her I was staying at a friend's for a while. She asked if this was the end. I said, not yet. But the ending's already been written. I'm just deciding if I'll read it aloud. I didn't sleep much the first few nights away. I stayed at my friend Ray's place, an old coworker who owed me more than a few favors. He didn't ask many questions. Just handed me a key and a cold drink and said, take your time. I needed that silence. But I also needed answers. Not from Marina this time, from him. Victor. Finding him. It wasn't hard to track him down. Marina's messages had mentioned the location of a new community center where they both served on a volunteer planning board. He'd be there Thursday night, she wrote. So I went. I sat in the back of the community hall, behind a half-closed divider wall, pretending to flip through local flyers. I watched him the way a hunter watches movement in the woods, calm, calculating, alert. Victor was mid-60s, like me. A little taller. Tanned, with 2 white teeth and that cheap cologne stink that lingers even after someone leaves a room. He laughed too loudly. Touched too often. Marina had once called him charming. I saw something else, a man who believed every woman in the room owed him something. When the meeting wrapped, I waited outside, just off to the side of the parking lot under a yellowed lamp. The confrontation. Victor. He turned. Confused at first. Then, recognition dawned. He smirked. Eli, right? Marina's husband. I've heard a lot about you. His confidence disgusted me. Like he expected a handshake. I didn't offer one. Don't talk. Just listen. He opened his mouth again, but I stepped closer. I know what you've been doing with my wife. I've seen the messages. I've seen the photos. I know it wasn't just some one-time thing behind a door. This went on for months. He shifted his weight, cleared his throat. Look, I didn't mean. Didn't mean what? To sleep with a married woman? To help destroy a 30-year marriage? He raised his hands. Hey man, this isn't all on me. I laughed, once. Cold. You right. She's the one who vowed to me. But you? You chose to be the side piece. The secret. The guy she snuck around with after community meetings and motel check-ins. That wiped the grin from his face. I leaned in, voice low. You not a man. You're a shadow. And if I ever catch wind of you contacting her again, even so much as a text, then you'll find out exactly how much I've got left to lose. He didn't speak after that. I turned and walked away without another word. Aftermath. Marina called later that night. He told me you came to the center. I did. Eli, what are you doing? I paused. I'm reclaiming my dignity. You handed it away. I'm not leaving it with him. She didn't reply. Just shallow breathing on the line. The shift. That was the turning point. I stopped asking why after that. Stopped wondering what I could have done differently. The answers didn't matter anymore. The damage had been done. And I'd stared the man in the eye who helped her do it. I started gathering paperwork the next morning. Bank records. Joint titles. Insurance. If this ship was going down, I wasn't going to drown politely. I waited a full week before telling the kids. Not because I was unsure, by then, the line was already drawn. I just didn't want to bleed my pain into theirs before I'd steadied my own hands. We invited them over separately. First our daughter, Alyssa. Then our son, Jonah. Both in their 30s now. Both busy, smart, kind, the kind of adults you hope your kids grow into. I told Alyssa on a Sunday morning. We sat on the back porch, coffee in hand, breeze cutting through the silence. She knew something was wrong the moment I sat down. Dad, is Mom sick? I shook my head slowly. No. But our marriage is. She blinked. Didn't understand. Then I told her everything, not the sordid details, but the truth. Marina had an affair. Over a year. With a man she met volunteering. And I was done. Alyssa didn't speak for a full minute. Then tears. Then anger. Did she admit it? Yes. And you leaving? I already have. She hugged me before she left. Harder than she had in years. Jonah was different. Less emotion, more confusion. He kept pacing the living room. Why would she do that? I don't get it. You guys seemed fine. We were fine for the world. We weren't fine in private. She cheated on you, Dad. I nodded. She did. He didn't cry. Just clenched his jaw and asked if I needed help with a lawyer. That night, he texted me, I love you. I'm sorry. I'll talk to Mom when I'm ready. Back at the house, one last plea. Marina asked me to meet her back at the house a few days later. I assumed it was about the finances. I was wrong. She had lit candles in the dining room. Made dinner, one of my favorites, something she hadn't cooked in years. She wore a soft sweater and her wedding ring, which I noticed had been missing until then. I just want to talk, she said. Please. Saturday. Not out of softness, out of curiosity. What could she possibly say now? I ruined us, she began. I know that. And I don't expect forgiveness overnight. But 30 years. Eli, we are not done. We can't be. I looked around at the table. The food. The ring. The performance. This isn't for me, I said. This is for your guilt. No, she said quickly. It's because I still love you. I pushed my chair back. You loved me like a man you didn't think would find out. Preparing for the split. After that night, I made it official. I hired a lawyer. We started formal separation. She didn't contest it. Not yet. I stayed with Ray while I hunted for a small condo nearby. I wasn't ready to leave Pine Ridge, not yet. This place held too many memories. But I needed my own door, my own air, my own silence. One night, I found an old photo of us, Marina and me on the front steps, young, arms locked. Smiling into the future. I stared at it a while, then set it face down. Some ghosts deserve to stay buried. The lawyer I hired, Greg Madison, wasn't flashy, but he was sharp. Practical. Exactly the kind of man you want when your world's cracked in half and you need someone to handle the fallout without flinching. I've seen this exact setup before, he said, glancing over the file. She'll either roll over in guilt, or flip the switch and try to protect what's hers. Which do you think she'll pick? Greg leaned back in his chair. That depends. How much does she think she's entitled to, and how dirty is the guy she cheated with? Financial maneuvers. Greg's advice was simple: gather everything. Bank statements. Pensions. Titles. Retirement accounts. We'd shared most things jointly, but I had a few long-term investments in my name. That helped. He suggested freezing any large transfers and alerting the bank. Sometimes, the guilty party tries to move money before papers are served. He was right. 2 days later, I checked the shared account. Marina had transferred $4,500 into a private savings account with her name only. I didn't call her. I didn't confront her. I sent Greg the screenshot and let him handle it. She got a legal notice the next day: improper transfer of joint assets pending separation. Her little move just became part of the official record. The friend who wasn't. Then came the unexpected gut punch. I stopped by to pick up some tools from the garage. Marina wasn't home. But our neighbor, Janice, someone we'd known 20 years, was watering her porch plants. She gave me a stiff smile. Heard you making it legal. I nodded. Janice sighed. I'm sorry, Eli. I really am. But Marina didn't do this alone. What do you mean? She hesitated, then leaned in. Victor used to come over here. When you were at work. Not just at meetings. Sometimes. I think Marina would ask me to cover. Say she was with me when she wasn't. I felt the air drain out of my lungs. Janice looked guilty. I never asked. But I suspected. I just didn't want to get involved. I thanked her. Quietly. But inside, another layer of ice formed. Cutting the rope. That night, I wrote Marina an email. No more in-person conversations. No more calls. Everything would go through Greg. You lost the right to speak to me directly the moment you made our neighbor your alibi. She replied once. I never meant to drag anyone into this. I'm so sorry. I didn't answer. Somewhere between love and resentment is apathy, and I was finally drifting toward it. Final steps. Greg began outlining the split: a house sale, asset division, retirement shares. Marina wasn't contesting much yet. She seemed beaten. Quiet. Not from grief. From exposure. I told the kids the papers were in motion. Alyssa cried. Jonah offered to help me move. Both of them, quietly, said they weren't sure how to see their mother now. Neither rushed to defend her. That told me all I needed to know. We met one final time, not in a kitchen or on a porch, but in a grey, windowless mediation room. 2 lawyers. 2 chairs. A conference table between us like a trench line. Marina looked tired. Not broken, just worn out in that way people look when they've spent months pretending to sleep well. She didn't meet my eyes when I walked in. Her lawyer did most of the talking. We worked through assets, retirement funds, and the house. Marina had agreed to sell it, and we'd split the proceeds. No fight. No accusations. Just paperwork and silence. Only once did she speak directly to me. I never thought it would end like this. I didn't hesitate. You made the ending. I'm just writing the last line. Signing it away. When it came time to sign, I paused, not out of doubt, but out of memory. 30 years. Birthdays. Road trips. The night our daughter was born. The time we rebuilt the deck together in the summer heat. And then I remembered Victor's smug face in the parking lot. The messages. The motel photo. The cowardice in her eyes when she was caught. I signed. She did too. And just like that, a marriage dissolved into initials and ink. Aftermath. I moved into a small 2-bedroom condo outside of town. Clean. Quiet. Just mine. I hung exactly one photo, me and the kids, from a camping trip before everything cracked. I see Alyssa and Jonah regularly. We don't talk much about their mother. They still see her, cautiously, carefully. But they told me something that stuck. Dad, you handled this with more grace than most people ever could. Grace wasn't the word I would have used. Maybe control. Maybe cold fire. But grace? That took effort. And it came with scars. What I learned. Betrayal doesn't always arrive with screaming or slammed doors. Sometimes, it shows up wearing familiar perfume and your favorite sweater. Sometimes, it tells you it's lonely, while climbing into someone else's bed. I learned that love, real love, doesn't lie in the shadows. It doesn't hide behind community boards or locked phones. And when it ends, when it truly ends, the cleanest cut is the one that lets you bleed once, instead of slowly forever. I didn't win. I didn't get even. But I walked away with my self-respect intact. That's more than she can say. This chapter's over. I'm still writing the next one. And this time, the pen's all mine.